Thank you for Shabbat Shalom. When I read this parsha, I thought of that great song by the five-man electrical band, Signs. Sign, sign, everywhere a sign, blocking out the scenery, breaking my mind. Do this, don't do that. Can't you read the sign? Vayikra, and he called. As we talked about before, my friends, the names of the 5 books of Moses are different in Hebrew than in English. The Hebrew follows the first word of the book and section, while the English follows the theme. This book, vayikra, and he called, only hints at the list of rules coming, while the English name, Leviticus, tells us it focuses on the priestly rules, the Levite tribe. And if the people could read, there'd have been signs everywhere. A new formula takes effect. And the Lord spoke to Moses. And friends, this phrase introduces most things in this book, and certainly introduces just about all the rules and regulations. The signs. This parsha marks the beginning of the solidification, the formation of a nation and an identity. The law is a significant study in itself, but it takes on a very special role here because this book is concerned with the place the laws take in forming a nation. They are not just listed, but woven into the narration between God and Moses. The story is no longer about Moses. It is about the laws. And there's never a question about getting to know God. It is a given. God is known to all. The people saw, they heard. They were the witnesses to his becoming known. Never before and never again would a multitude be witness to God. We are told there is always a presence of the cloud and fire. And friends, the tabernacle, that great item of construction, and the tent of meeting, sits just outside the compound, separate, but a part of the whole. This book is about law and institutions, not personality or individuals. And while the tabernacle is established as the conduit of the word, God still uses Moses to dictate his laws. Moses goes in and out of the tent, veiled and unveiled, getting instructions from God. And so from the beginning, God speaks from the tabernacle, establishing the tabernacle as the all-important conduit by which the divine word comes to man, becoming the channel between the earthly and the cosmic. And that will be important because Moses won't be around forever. The cosmic channel has to be accepted, and that cosmic channel contains 3 elements: the tent of meeting, the altar, and the tabernacle. And friends, at another time we'll talk about the importance of 3, the Trinity and the role it plays. And these 3 elements of the tent, altar, and tabernacle will be referred to again and again, and are analogous to Mount Sinai itself, where the summit was where only Moses could go, the perimeter of cloud where only Aaron, his sons, and the 70 elders could go, and the base of the mountain into which all had access. And friends, you could see it today in the synagogue with the ark, the bema, and the sanctuary floor. We go immediately into a series of rules and laws regarding sacrifice. And a very interesting term is used. God tells Moses to say to the people, a human from you. A human. Friends, the book of Genesis laid out an order for man. Human, person, man. And this same order is used to talk about sacrifice. And so a link is created between God's creation of humans and humans' sacrifice to the Creator, and between different books of the Torah. We are also told that from now on only one place will exist for sacrifice: the tent of meeting at the altar, which we are told is the Holy of Holies. We talked last time how this was the described Holy of Holies, but how the Ark of the Covenant took on that special mystical role of being the true nexus between God and man. And friends, we are also told there is a prescribed way for us to behave in morality, in ethics, and in ritual. We go through steps and procedures, but it comes down to fact. There is a prescribed way in all aspects of life. And I found one of the most interesting procedures in Leviticus 2:13. Sprinkle every offering of a grain offering with salt. And this, of course, gave rise to the custom of dipping challah in salt as part of the Sabbath service, something only done by some, and actually done in stranger places than you can imagine. I remember seeing a Fabergé platter on display in Beijing belonging to Tsar Nicholas II, which had 2 very distinct sections to it, one for bread and one for salt. We then are given instructions regarding a person who sins. And friends, this whole section is about sacrifice, and its purpose is in recognizing the sacredness of life. It's not about just killing parts of the herd. It's been over 2,000 years since the temple was destroyed. We have lost connection to the concept of sacrifice, and we will talk further about it at another time. Perhaps the editors didn't help when they put together this book, because it begins with sacrifices that go to the priests, and it doesn't get into the sacrifices that go for food till after Leviticus 17. Sacrifices relate to guilt and expiation, the two key concepts which arise at Yom Kippur. And the system of guilt provides the mechanism for expiation and forgiveness. Forgiveness, the most important gift of all. Yet still people hold on to their guilt for years when they could have exercised the forgiveness mechanism. Friends, sacrifice, not repentance, is the means of forgiveness. There is actually no mention of mercy, grace, or kindness in all of Leviticus. It is a book of rules, of laws, not of emotion. And we see there are special rules introduced because we are told in Leviticus 4:2, people sin by mistake. Humans make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And mistakes still requires atonement. And friends, with sacrifice no longer available, the emphasis of this has come upon Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. It is now the most sacred holy day in the year. But in the Torah, the most sacred is Passover, because nothing is more important than your freedom. Let no one be your Pharaoh. The rules go on to tell us if the anointed priest will sin, causing the people's guilt. And the term used for anointed priest, we've talked about it before, is ha-kohen, ha-messiah. And friends, here we see the use of the term anointed or Messiah, commonly translated throughout the rest of the Tanakh as Messiah, reserved originally for the high priest, not the king. And friends, this may point to greater power for the high priest than for later kings, but that's another discussion. But it does tell us even the priest can make a mistake and bring guilt. He's not infallible. Friends, we don't have the altar anymore. But we continue to make sacrifices because we all carry the Holy of Holies within our hearts and sacrifice to God internally on an ongoing basis. We've learned to go beyond the temple, the trappings, and the altar. We have inculcated our faith within our souls. But we have forgotten what sacrifice really means. As Bob Dylan's saying, God knows there's a purpose. God knows there's a chance. God knows you can rise above the darkest hour of every circumstance. Remember, we are coming up to that time of the year when we can create whatever we want. Picture yourself as an artist approaching a blank canvas, ready to imprint your will on the universe. That is the power you have to determine what your year will be. What kind of year do you want to have? What kind of sacrifice do you need to make? Do you live in light or in dark, in love or in fear? Love is but the song we sing, and fear is the way we die. You can make the mountains ring or make the angels cry. Shabbat Shalom.